right, so this 8th week of class, we're playing around with some more things in chapter 4. We moved on to section 2. In section 2, we're going to cover activities 14.5, that was in the previous video, and 14.7. You also should check out Behold the Pythagorean Theorem, that was from the previous video. So right or not. So here you're going to need some plain graph paper. On that graph paper, you're going to cut out squares with areas 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on up to 169. You're going to use those squares to build triangles by putting them together, matching up vertices to form a triangle. Now, either it's going to form an obtuse angle across from the longest side, or an acute angle, or a right angle. And you're going to keep track of that in this chart here. Write down the area of the largest square, the area of the smallest square, and the area of the third square. What do these two add up to, the smallest and the third, in terms of their squares? And then also observation, the angle that's opposite the longest or largest square, what kind of angle is it? Is it obtuse? Is it right? Is it acute? So, for example, they have one right here, and when I put those together, I have an obtuse angle. 9 plus 36 is 45, compared to the 64 squares on the other side. I end up with an obtuse angle. The 10, 36, and 64, you can put those together. If you add up 36 and 64, that adds up to 100. What kind of angle do you see there? I'm just going to do a couple of other examples on this one here. You could also do this with GeoGebra, my favorite geometry program. I'll whip out GeoGebra here. And I am going to use the geometry version. So the way I would do it is not with the squares, but the side length of a particular square. So for example, the second example was 136 and 64. The 100 comes from a side length of 10. So the first thing I'll do a line segment of a given size, and I'll say that size is 10. Oops. Now, to get the sides on the other part here, I'm going to use two circles centered at B and then at A to get the other ones. So if I have a square that's 36 in area, that means the side length is 6. So I use a circle with a center in a given radius, and I say the radius is 6. The other square was based on 64. And so that would be 8 squared. So then I'm going to come and draw another circle from A, and that one's going to be an 8. And then I want to see where they meet. So then I go more, and I grab the intersects, and I point to the intersection. It tells me the point they meet at, and then I can build that triangle from A to B to C, back to A. And that looks like a right angle there. And again, double checking my side measures here. There's my 6, my 10, and my 8, and they were related to this here, my 136 and 64. So 100 is 10 squared, 36 is 6 squared, 64 is 8 squared. You could always ask GeoGebra to measure that for me and determine whether it is obtuse, acute, or right. I could use the angle measure tool. GeoGebra says, oops, wrong angle measure tool on that one. And GeoGebra says, hey, that's a 90-degree angle. Okay. I'll just do that one more time to show you how to do it if you want. Or you could just cut out those squares and do it that way. So let's see, what's another one I tried? How about putting together 64 with 16 and 49? So more. So 64 is my long one. I'm going to put that at the bottom. That comes from 8 squared. 16 was my small one. That comes from 4 squared. So I use a circle, radius 4. And 49 was the other number I mentioned, the other square. So that comes from 7 squared. So I type in 7. And then that's the intersection point for my triangle. So then I have to go more, find that point intersect tool, and then I can draw a triangle And acute, obtuse, or right. Ooh, that's hard to tell again. So I could ask GeoGebra to measure. Measure that angle. GeoGebra says, ooh, it's 89. It's acute. Interesting. So according to the table, what I was doing, let's grab a screenshot. So I put a new line down. There's several new lines you're going to have to add. I had, choose blue, 64, that was my 8 squared, 16, my 4 squared, and 49, my 7 squared. You add 16 to 49, you get 65, and that led to an acute angle. 36 and 64, that's 100. That led to a right angle. Second page, you're going to summarize this information, then answer some questions. Good luck. Have fun. Do good math. See you later.